Hey, it's Booger from Booger and Zeke's Welding Emporium. Today I want to talk about a neat little thing that I found that actually works. I'm not necessarily sure I would call this a product review, but maybe a neat little helpful bit of information for anyone. Uh, you know, when in fab and welding, certainly in the small jobs that I do a lot of spray painting and spray priming, and my hands get tired and they get covered with the spray paint by just doing it by hand, and the overspray, and sometimes the buttons don't work, etc., etc. So on a lark at my Ace Hardware, I found this, I think it's called a can gun. It's a little plastic thing, and it just slides on and slides off of the can. Look, it's really cheap. It's all plastic. It does have a spring, so the trigger is spring loaded. I talked with some folks there who didn't really know a whole lot about it, had not worked with it. I did talk to one guy who said, be careful because this is all plastic. You don't want to give it a death grip because you'll break something in there. So that was about the most information that I got. So I decided, well, I'll give it a try. I thought it was a little pricey at $6 for what you get. There's probably 20 cents of materials in here. But anyway, here's the thing. So what it does is it just slides on this collar. It's fairly tight. It's a bit of a tight thing. Now you need to be careful when you slide it off and on. You don't go in at an angle. And it has little pictures in the molding right here about reminding you of that, because this is, you know, it's plastic and it'll break. The bottom line here is that I actually found that this thing worked really well for me. It helped my hand. It's very comfortable. I didn't feel like, usually when I've spray painted for a long time, my arm gets tired and my hand gets tired. I didn't get any of that fatigue with this thing. I thought it was very responsive when I pulled the trigger, quite responsive. No kind of lag, if you will. So I actually found this to be a really helpful tool that I'm glad I got. I will continue to use it, and frankly, I think if you're considering something, you know, even at $6, I think it's worth it so far. Now, I've only used it on a couple cans, well, maybe more than a couple, but nothing's come apart so far. The one thing that I did find that I didn't like so much is, and I don't, you know, on a regular button like this, it's perfect. But if you've seen those blue ones, it's kind of supposed to be some high-tech redesign of an aerosol can button, the need for which I don't see. And I can't stand those buttons. For me, they don't work. There's a lag on them. They don't shut off when you let them go. They don't start spraying when you push them, no matter how hard and how fast. I did find that when you set the sprayer for a vertical spray, there are times that spray actually does hit up here. And so you may be able to see all the mess that's in there. Well, that mess was from the spray hitting that, which in and of itself may not be that big a deal. But what it does is that wet paint accumulates in here, and then it starts dripping out onto what you're painting. And so I ended up with paint blobs all over the metal piece that I was painting, and I had to strip that all down and start over. And it's all because that spray pattern was a little too wide for this, and it went up in here and then collected and dripped down. Have not had that problem at all with this kind of sprayer, and I think I've even used the old-fashioned, just the skinny white button as well. But that blue thing is a nightmare for me from the beginning. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. You really can't necessarily get it wrong in terms of any alignment of the can inside this. In other words, if it was too far back, if I had it too far back, I can see how the spray would be that wide, you know, too wide at that point. And if I pushed it forward, it would narrow things down. But that's not the case. It snaps in one way. And by the way, it snaps in really solid. So you can even shake, although I'm not sure that I like the idea of this weak point taking the stress of shaking since it's just thin plastic. But this holds very, very tightly, very well. It will spin if you give it a fair bit of effort, but you know, again, I think this is Booger gives this 2 thumbs up. So if this is something you're looking for, I highly recommend it. Thanks.